Hi, thank you for being here today. I'm Maria Mandarino, and today we are going to talk a little bit about Enneagram Type 1. I have two guests today who lead with Enneagram 1. Heather Bergstrom, who is an acupuncturist and educator of Chinese medicine, I guess we could say. You're going to talk about that a little bit more in Idaho and Boise. And Sam Draper, I have your last name right? Sam
Yep.
Draper. Okay. And I'm going to have you introduce yourself first, because you can probably do that better than I can at this point. Okay. So Sam, let's have you jump in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
All right. My name is Sam Draper. I currently live in Mesa, Arizona, and I work in environmental policy, specifically water for the environment.
Okay. And Heather?
Great. I'm Heather Bergstrom. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, and currently I'm working for a hospital in their cancer institute, doing acupuncture there.
Okay. And then you have a program as well, right? An online?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have an online course that I'll be launching soon that is called Mastering the Change. It's a program to help educate women on perimenopause and menopause and how to kind of handle those changes that are coming your way.
All right, cool. All right. Is there a website that you want to direct people to? I'm going to put it in the show notes as well, but if you
Sure.
want to share
Yeah.
that.
It's vitalmatriarch.com.
Okay. All right. So, I have some loosely drafted questions. We're probably going to deviate from them, but let's jump in with the first one, and I'll just let you guys decide who wants to answer first. Okay. So how did you know you lead with Enneagram Type 1? What was the undeniable light bulb, or it's like, yeah, this is who I am?
You want to
I'll
go first,
go.
Heather?
Yeah, I'll go. So I don't think I had like a light bulb moment. I did a test online that I think you had recommended, and then I think you also told me about a YouTube video to watch that was a panel of Enneagram ones and them talking about their experiences, and like everything they talked about, I was like, oh yeah, that's totally me. And then I think just in my conversations with you, Maria, because there were some questions as to whether I was a 9 maybe, or possibly an 8 or a 1. And so just in talking with you, we kind of narrowed that down. And then when I watched that panel, that was like a sure thing.
Yeah. That panel was, as I remember, it was Beatrice Chestnut.
Yes, I think so.
Her panels are really, really good. All right. What about you, Sam? How do you know? Was there an undeniable moment where you did you float around?
In one of my last positions, the receptionist was very interested in Enneagrams. She was a type 4, and she had everyone in the office take the quiz. And she said, Sam, you're going to be a 1, but go ahead and take the quiz. And I took the quiz, and I'm like, I come out of my office. I'm like, I don't know. Do you think that this matches me? And she's like, you're overthinking to make sure that you got it right. You're a 1.
Yeah.
And then I got a 1, and it just felt very true to who I am.
Yeah. How did you feel about her question when you asked her, are you sure? Do you think I'm really a 1? Like, how did that feel? Did it bring anything up?
I guess it felt like, oh, you know that I'm exactly a type. Maybe that's assuring that I'm not like confusing, I guess.
Okay. All right. And do you guys know your wings? I don't remember, Heather. Did you determine a wing?
I think it's maybe a 9.
Okay.
I can't remember what else.
Okay. I think 9 sounds right. Sam, were you 2?
I'm a 1 wing 2.
Okay. All right. That's what I thought. All right. So when you discovered your type, was there a moment of, yeah, I do that? Was there any kind of, you wished you weren't a 1?
Totally.
Yeah. Tell us
totally.
about that.
Well, there's just a lot of, I'm going to describe it as being like uptight around certain things and like critical of certain things, and those are some things I don't care for in myself necessarily. But at the same time, it is helpful to know that I'm a 1 and kind of be able to work with some of those characteristics.
Yeah, good. That's exactly what the Enneagram, gives us. Yeah. What about you, Sam? Did you have any kind of resistance to the type?
I think it was more of just like an eye roll, like, of course I'm the one who's trying to be perfect. Of course I'm the one who's the responsible older sister.
I
Of
think
course I'm the one
ones,
who needs to be more moderate.
yeah. I think ones are, and you can tell me what you guys think, but I think as eyeball rollers go in the Enneagram, I think you're probably among the type that rolls the eyeballs more than most. So that makes sense. So tell me about your inner critic.
So for me, I feel like there's just like this constant judgment just sort of running through, and it's not necessarily negative. It can be positive or negative, but there's just always like like judging on a scale of things, or I don't really know how to explain that, but it's I just seem to notice a lot of things, and I I feel like it kind of wastes a lot of energy, but that's just what I do. I just notice things. All
like
the time.
Program that runs in the background all the time.
Yeah. There's no like voice there, but I just notice things. And then as far as like the like inner critic for myself, again, there's no like voice to it. It's more like if I make a mistake, I'll just replay that mistake over and over and over, and I don't know if it's like an attempt to try to correct that mistake, but I can replay mistakes I made 20 years ago, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what it takes to shut that tape off?
No.
Okay.
No, not with certain things. Certain things I can let go. I think that when it really is hard to shut off is like if I feel like I've hurt someone's feelings or it's interacting with other people more than anything else. Yeah.
Do you, in the event of something like that, can you enter into conversation with the person, or like you just hold on to it?
I just hold on to it. I mean, even if I enter into conversation with the person about it and it gets resolved, I'll still hold on to it and still replay.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Sam?
Yeah. I would say it's, for me, my inner critic is questioning and self-doubting. Like, it's been helpful for me to list out like what is fact and what is objective instead of what is subjective. Like, no, I don't need to be worried about that because the facts are this and I can't change that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How about childhood? So the our Enneagram number begins forming when we basically arrive on the planet, right? We have eye contact with our first caregiver and we figure out how to get our needs met, right? And it continues to form till somewhere around age 20, 21 is kind of where we land on it. But things are unfolding, through childhood. So I want to talk a little bit about childhood. What was hard for you? What was easy for you? What were you like as a kid? How did others perceive you as a kid? And what kind of things did you enjoy? Heather, you're grinning.
Well, so my childhood was a little bit turbulent, so it's hard to really say what was Enneagram 1 personality type emerging and what was other things happening. Right. My mom passed away at a very young age, and so I was kind of shuffled around between my dad and my grandparents, just depending on what was going on in the world, in my world. And so I think there was a lack of security there, just not knowing where I was going to be, and just different caregivers. And I was shy. So I think maybe with all that change, I was just shy. I liked being with people I knew. I didn't really want to be around strangers much. I'm still sort of like that. Let's see. So it's hard to say. I mean, based on the instability, it seems like I would definitely want to be making sure I was doing the right thing, just to try to achieve stability around me, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. How about having fun? What do you do for fun as a kid?
You know, I mean, this is maybe inappropriate, but it's kind of funny too. My dad nicknamed me Orphan.
Oh.
But but I know it sounds inappropriate, but it was kind of like more based on my personality. Obviously there's the reality that my mom passed away, but it was kind of based on my personality a little bit. Like I like the shyness, the kind of tendency to kind of keep to myself or play by myself. So I don't know, I can remember just doing a lot of things by myself. Of course there was like neighborhood kids and we'd go play tag and that sort of thing, but there was a lot of just like, I'm gonna play this board game by myself, or play Barbies. I was really into Barbies, so I would play Barbies by myself. So it was just I guess I would do fun things, but it was just alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Sam?
I feel like childhood was hard for me. I was a very anxious child, and I really liked structure and routine, and I could get really overwhelmed if things felt out of control, and I tried to control my environment a lot. Like looking back, I had a lot of obsessive compulsive tendencies about making sure that things were perfect. And like one example that I think is really funny, my mom, when I was in elementary school, my mom bought me one of those paper slicers with the arms because I would get so frustrated that I couldn't cut perfectly straight.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's all you need to know about me. Like my projects never looked like I did them. They looked like a parent did them because I had to have them perfect and color coded. And thankfully my mom is a therapist and really emotionally intelligent. So she sent me to see a therapist at a young age, which was really, really great. Because I was a little bit self-destructive. I would take it out on myself that I was doing things wrong and I wasn't perfect. But I was also very interested in Barbies as a kid. But I didn't really play with the Barbies. I liked to set up their scenes and rearrange their house so that I didn't play so much with the actual Barbies.
Yeah, I can relate to that too.
You know, it's funny.
And that it is like controlling. It's like playing out a story exactly the way you want to play it out, and like controlling everything that happens to that little doll. It makes sense.
It does. It does.
If my cousin I would try to get my cousin to play, and he was a boy and he always wanted to like have Ken doll be flying around and being a superhero or something. And I'd be like, no,
That's wrong.
Isn't how we play. This isn't how we play Barbies.
Interesting. You know, and Barbie herself, right? Like she's like this perfection doll, right? Yeah. So it is kind of interesting. Very interesting. So what kind of things did you enjoy, Sam? What was the priority on fun?
I don't know that I was very fun. I don't think I was very fun. I like to play in the water. I like to play in the water. I read a lot of books. I did hang out by myself a lot.
Okay. Well, that definitely sounds like a one. All right. So, actually, I'm going to go back to the question I had next. What does it feel like for either of you when someone you really care about is not reaching their, in your opinion, is not reaching their full potential?
I would say for me, it's really frustrating. It's like
Okay.
you're so good and you could do so much better, and try just like in my old age, learning like let it go. It's their life. You don't like being told what to do either. Okay, and you can be here to help them if they need help.
Yeah, yeah. So when you tried to encourage them to do better, what kind of feedback came back to you from them?
Like looking at an example from like growing up, like I didn't have a ton of girlfriends, but some of my girlfriends, like they would date these horrible guys and they didn't ask me for my opinion, but like obviously that's not the right guy. Like, what are you doing? He's not treating you right. And it would ruin the friendships because that's not the supportive friend. That's
Yeah.
an authoritarian figure. And so that like losing some of those friendships was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's
Yeah.
just because you think that that's right doesn't mean that's right for them.
Mm-hmm.
Just be there to support them.
Yeah. Was that hard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Heather, how about you?
I feel like in a way I'm able to just sort of, if someone's close to me, I can kind of just let it go. This may be kind of opposite, but if I mean, obviously it could be exasperating, but at the same time, I really don't like hurting people's feelings. And I know that when I speak, sometimes I'm very blunt. And so I would rather not speak or say something sometimes just because I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah. I think that's the 9 wing and the 2 wing. So the 9 wants peace and harmony,
yeah.
right? So you don't want to
Yeah.
upset anybody or offend anybody. And the 2 wants to help.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can overreach in the help. So yeah, I think that's what's going on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
can I just have like,
yeah.
I think Brene Brown is an Enneagram 1.
I think she's
And
an
I listened,
8. I think.
is she?
I think she's an
Well,
8.
I listened to her tell a story, and she went to a therapist, and the therapist said, well, and she was angry about this woman had been having inappropriate behaviors according to Brene. Like it was just irritating behaviors. Irritating, not inappropriate, but irritating. And so anyway, she went to her therapist. She was talking about it and venting about it. And the therapist said, well, don't you just think that she was doing the best she could? And Brene was like, no, I don't think she's doing the best she can. And I, after hearing the story about the irritating behaviors, I was the same way. I was like, no, she wasn't doing the best she could. No. And so then she went around and started asking people, like, do you think that people in general are just doing the best they can? And she said there was either, yes, I do. I think people are just doing the best they can, or it was no. And the no's to me are probably Enneagram 1. Like, no, I don't think they're doing the best they can. They could do better.
Right.
So that's kind of pertains to that question of reaching your fullest potential.
Yeah, because there's always something you can improve. The ones, and that can set the one up for not following through with things, procrastinating, because you get so caught up in the perfection that you can spend 6 months perfecting that thing and never get it, done. So, yeah, that's definitely type 1 behavior. They do see the opportunity to reform in any, even if you're putting it all out there, you can reach a little more. There's always a little tweak. So yeah. What's it like at work or in other group projects when people don't pull their weight? So what does that bring up in you? Then how do you respond to it? What's the internal process? So the mental internal process, the visceral process, and then how do you approach it? How do you act on it?
when I was in grad school, I worked at a medical office, and it was a big medical office. So there was a huge front desk, and there were like 3 or 4 of us that worked at the front desk.
Mhm.
And I'm a rule follower. If you teach me how to do something a certain way, I'm going to do it the certain way, right? And I think when people don't do it a certain way or don't fulfill all the job requirements, then I get irritated. But again, I try not to say anything because I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but I'm sure it comes out, like they can tell I'm irritable. So I had a review with my manager, and in the review, this was the first time that I realized, like, oh, I'm a little different than other people in this regard, because my manager said, Heather, you can't expect everyone to be just like you. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, you can't expect everyone to do everything the way you do it. And I was like, oh, why? Like, I didn't understand why. This is how we're supposed to do it. Why can't I expect people to do it that way? But so what that tells me is I must have, like, somebody must have complained or something about me being irritable. Yeah, so that was kind of the first time that I realized that not everyone does things the way I do to the extent that I do. And that was interesting. I've always remembered that. That was years ago, but I've always remembered her saying that.
Yeah. Do you remember if you had like a body response to hearing that? Or was it all in here?
I think I don't remember if I had a body response. I think it kind of made me a little bit mad, but also confused, because I just didn't understand why you wouldn't have the same expectations for everybody.
Yeah. That to me is one of the keys to knowing your Enneagram type. Because until we know that we see this differently, because this is the lens that I view the world through, there are people who will just keep viewing the world that way and think everybody else sees it the same. And it causes such conflict within yourself, within your relationships. People go to the boss and complain because you're unreasonable, and they go, that kind of stuff just keeps happening over and over again because we don't understand that we're this way and they're that way, and it's all good. So yeah. All right. Sam, what about your experience?
Am I cutting you off, Heather?
No.
Okay. As far as group projects go, I feel like a lot of times I did them myself. Just like, and it's just easier. I'll just do it myself and it'll be right. It's fine. And as I got older, after college, I realized, like, this is really exhausting. Like, I'm tired of doing all of the work. And like, it's okay to hear other people's perspectives and see how they think of things. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just different. Like, having that be a mantra for me, like, it's just different. It's not bad. But I think, like, now I've gotten to a much better place with it, like with teamwork, trying to be more graceful towards myself and other people, just about where they're coming from, and asking questions. Like, if I think that they're wrong, or if I think they're wrong, or I know they're wrong, just like asking questions to make sure, like, we're both on the same page, because maybe we're seeing it from a different perspective.
Right.
And trying to, like, better understand where we're each coming from, so that I can, again, like, be a little bit more objective instead of my subjective Sam is right perspective. But in those situations, when I feel all my tension in my neck and my shoulders, and I know, like, especially in high school, I used to have problems with my muscles spasming, and I couldn't turn my head because I just held it all right here.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. So next question, more personal relationships now. So the people in your immediate world, how do you express love for the people in your immediate world?
I don't know why, but that's a hard question for me. I asked my husband this morning, and he just He was like, we're not on Oprah. What are you talking about? Why are you asking me this? Anyway.
Wait, I got to pause you. Share your husband's Enneagram type.
He's a 5.
Yeah, that's a total 5 answer. Okay, back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so I think, I mean, verbally, I'll just express, I like you, I appreciate you, I love you, whatever. But then I think that I just always really try to be a support for my loved ones if I feel like they need support. So just trying to be there when they need me. And that's about all I could think of, honestly.
Okay. And again, that makes sense. 1 with the 9 wing. That's I would say that's some of that 9 coming in there. So
yeah.
Okay. Sam, what about you?
I would say that I try to be thoughtful and try to make things like nice or easy for them. I went on a work trip last week, and so before I left, I did all the laundry and folded it, left it out, so everyone was good to go. I went to the grocery store, like trying to make things a little bit more easier and be supportive.
Okay. And there's your 2 wing. That's all the 2. That's good though. That's good.
Just feels so cliche, and then I'm like, but that's right. You're right, aren't you? You're doing it the right way.
Okay. What makes doing things right or being right important?
Well, if I'm right, then the inner critic doesn't start, for one thing. And then it's important to do things right. I don't know. Maybe because then I'm good, or maybe more lovable. Like if I get things just right, then maybe that makes me more lovable or worthy or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say that's the heart of the Enneagram, because that's basically why we all do whatever, our motivations ultimately is we're looking for that positive response. Love would be up there. I have a question though. Does the inner critic really stop if you get it right?
Well, there's always other things to pick out. So if I get this one thing right, then I'm off the hook there. But there's always other things. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sam, what about you?
I would echo what Heather said, just that really intense. I think I read it on one of the Enneagram pages, like that intense moral compass, like to be good and to be accepted.
Okay. All right. So, a little lighter question. What's the best thing about being an Enneagram 1?
Having my ducks in a row.
Why is that good?
It just feels good. I mean, let's see. It helps me to feel competent. I love ticking off a good to-do list. It feels so good. I think just being competent, knowing that I can accomplish things. I think it helps with just an overall confidence level that I'm capable of, handling whatever comes at me.
What's it like when the ducks don't get in a row?
Annoying. Really annoying.
Okay. What do you get annoyed at?
Well, I don't like things to fall through the cracks. So, losing track of things or feeling disorganized. It feels out of control.
Okay.
It feels out of control. Yeah.
Okay. And feeling out of control makes you feel what?
Probably panicky, stressed. Yeah,
Okay.
just those things.
Okay. Okay. Sam, what's the best thing about being an Enneagram 1 for you?
I think for me, it's having rules, I guess.
Structure.
Having a structure, having having like the same, I don't know, I'll say like guidelines for everything. I'm trying to be good, get it right, and that feels kind of objective instead of like, I think being a type 4 would be so cool, but that feels scary. Type 1 feels safe.
Say a little more there.
Like it would be cool to go try new things and not be afraid and embrace it and be different. And it also doesn't feel secure and controlled and safe
Yeah.
like my type 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there ever a feeling of, like, out of all 9 types, do you feel like you're the only adult in the Enneagram?
I think there's one other adult. I can't remember which one it is. I can't remember.
I think all 9 have the adult in them, but
Yeah.
at the higher expression,
Well, there was a good analogy I heard with the Enneagram, and like, okay, every type 1 through 9 is going to a dinner party. What do they bring to the dinner party? That like shows what their type is.
Yeah.
And so there was the type 1s were either hosting the dinner party or they're bringing like place cards so they can arrange where everyone sits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like there was one other, I can't remember which number it was, but there was one other number that was similar.
Yeah.
It was similar.
Yeah.
They were either going to host or they were going to like set things up.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
6. Might be 6. I don't know. Because they plan. They have the strategies.
Yep.
So
Yep.
maybe.
I would like that.
Yeah.
I would like that. Yeah. That's probably the other adult in the room.
Okay. All right. So have you ever been in a circumstance where you felt there isn't another adult in the room? And how does that work? What happens?
Actually, I'm in an organization right now. I'm in a leadership role, and I feel like I'm the only adult in the room. I feel like the other people in charge. Well, I'm just going to leave it at that. I feel like I'm the only adult in the room. Okay. So what I do is I just do all the things that I feel like really need to get done quickly, and maybe try to organize things. And then otherwise I just sort of let everything else go.
Yeah. It's comfortable though doing that.
Things.
Is it comfortable for you?
Yeah, it's comfortable with the things that I'm taking care of. That being said, I probably will not do this again next year.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just trying to do my part for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely feels that way.
I was wondering because, as a 1 versus, because we think of the 8 as the one that'll step in and do the leadership positions. So I was curious how it would be different. And I think that's a good illustration of, I can do it, but probably won't do it again. Is that because of a loss of energy? Like why? What's the thing that's?
Well, I don't in the past with this organization, people that have been in leadership positions have been stuck in the role basically, and they can't get out because nobody else wants to do it. So they'll be in there like 7 years just doing everything for this organization. And so I just am not going to be that person. So I just was like, okay, I'll step up for 1 year, I'll do my part, and then I'm stepping away.
Because there's no improvement. You're not seeing improvement. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I think there will be improvement. I just I think it's a situation where people can be like, oh, she'll do it, and just leave it to the person who is in that space. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yep. I think ones find themselves in that because they're responsible.
Yeah.
I think they find themselves in that situation. All right. Sam, did you answer that one on being the best thing about being an idiot? I lost track of my question.
Yes.
Sorry. The hardest thing about being an Enneagram 1.
I'm going to let Sam go first. I talked a lot.
I'll say for me, the hardest thing about being an Enneagram type 1 is letting go and feeling joy and being okay with this is joy and this is enough, and you can be present in the moment instead of worrying about, well, what if I could make it better?
Wow.
I think that's the hardest part for me.
That's huge. That's the growth point.
Yeah.
That's because when I did the Enneagram 1 overview video, and that's why I asked about fun in childhood before. When you ask an Enneagram 1 what they do for fun, it's not uncommon for them to say, what's fun? Why would I want to have fun? I could be working or making something better or improving something. It's like you're constantly, on. So leaving that space for joy, I mean, that's the work of the 1. So that's big. That's big.
Yeah, I had one of my friends actually married me and my husband 3 years ago, and she picked a poem for a reading during the ceremony, and she printed out one of the lines for me to hang in my house, and it says, "Joy is not to be made a crumb." And that just like sticks with me every time I read it.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, very cool. And Heather, it's the hardest thing.
I think, fun. I am envious of people that seem to just naturally always be having a lot of fun. I can have fun. But it's almost like I have to recognize it in the moment, like, oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm having fun. Like, like I don't realize it or something. I'm not sure, but so I can have fun. But I'm missing like a sense of lightheartedness, I think, that I see in other people. In fact, I feel like my closest friends are very lighthearted and sort of not free spirits, because they're responsible people too, but they have a playfulness to them that I don't have naturally. And so I'm so attracted to that. Yeah. So attracted to that. Yeah. And even my husband as a 5, he still has some of that too. He can play still. Yeah. So that is hard. And I think not being able to turn off the critic sometimes is really hard.
And this is for either of you, both of you actually, did learning your Enneagram type change your relationship to joy and fun, or were you already aware that you needed that this was something to work on?
I think it helped me to realize it was something I need to prioritize more, because otherwise I'll just let it go. Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
I think it was validating. I knew it was something that I needed to work on. And especially having a 2 wing. I feel like I put other people first
Right.
before myself, and it's hard for me to think like I have capacity. I need to have capacity for me to have fun also, and that doesn't mean I'm not good or right.
Right. Was there guilt in that if you were having fun?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Um, what's it like for you and for others when you're in charge? And do you like being in charge, or would you prefer someone else do it?
Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
All right. I know Heather kind of talked about having a leadership role in her current position. I have a tendency to be in charge, and I don't mind being in charge. And I will say, like, I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm gonna do it again because I like the security that I know I can get it done, and I'm working on delegating more effectively and letting go and letting other people participate and trying other perspectives.
Delegating hard?
Yeah.
What's
What
hard?
if they don't do it right? What if I didn't communicate it effectively? I'm criticizing myself about delegating.
Oh, wow.
What if I gave them too much? That wasn't fair. I'll just take more.
Wow, wow. So there's even right or wrong in the delegating for you, not
I'm
just that
exhausted all the time.
Yeah, yeah, wow. All right. Heather, what's it like when you're in charge, and do you like the feeling?
Um, I don't know. I sort of like the feeling. I like feeling the accomplishment of being in charge if I feel like I'm doing a good job. But I think the stress catches up with me. So as you know, I owned my own practice for probably like 13, 14 years. So I was in charge. I would be the one that had to put out all the fires. I would have to deal with staff or employees, and it's not fun most of the time. It's just not fun. So I made the decision last year to go and work at a hospital, and so I have bosses, and I can be a good employee. Like I can do my job. I can work within the parameters that they give me, which is much different than if you own your own business. There are no parameters. You just keep working and keep trying. And so I feel so much better being an employee rather than an employer. It's so much safer. It's just so much less stressful for me. I don't have to criticize the way I'm running my business or any of that. So yeah, it's a relief. I like it. I like not being in charge.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So Heather, you mentioned rules, so I'm going to take this next one to you first.
Okay.
Tell me why rules are important.
I think rules are important because it sets a baseline of expectations for everyone, such as please use your turn signal when you're turning your car. Like that's just a basic rule, but everyone has the same set of expectations, and it just keeps things flowing and moving, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, why are rules important?
I agree with that. And I think for me also, it's fair that it has like a sense of fairness, that we're all working under the same guidance or like parameters.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah. And I've talked to Heather about this one in the past, but what if there are rules and you don't see the logic in the rule? Like, what if it's not your rule? What do you do?
I try to understand why it's the rule or make sense of it or change it.
That's pretty much what Heather had said.
Yeah.
I remember that conversation and I was like, oh, wow, because I struggle with rules if I don't know what they mean. All right. what happens when you make a mistake? And you've kind of touched on this. So you make a mistake, you know it's a mistake. Two things. What's your internal dialogue like, and what's happening with your body?
So like I said before, I'll just replay the mistake in my head. So it's not necessarily an internal dialogue like you're stupid. Why did you do that? It's nothing like that. It's just I replay the mistake, and it's more of the feeling that it gives me in my body. So it feels like a pressure, or just like a clenching inside, like in my chest or in my solar plexus. And it's the same feeling I would get if I were to experience shame or guilt. It's the same type of feeling.
Yeah. Kind of like a locking up in the body. Would that be accurate? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, what about you?
If I make a mistake, when I was younger and in a less healthy place, I would do I'm stupid, I'm wrong, this is horrible, I'm a bad person. And I would have that like running through my head. I've gotten better about that, like just trying to understand like where I made a mistake, being honest if there's someone I need to be honest with about the mistake to try and rectify it. And I agree with the embarrassment and shame portion. And for me, a lot of times if I make a mistake, I feel like I want to crawl out of my skin. Like it just feels so uncomfortable.
Yeah. What makes you angry?
I think injustice or unfairness.
Tell me a little more.
Well, like if not everybody's following the rules, right? Like if I'm following the rules, but someone else isn't, that's unjust to me. That's not fair, and that'll make me angry. Resent is something that will come up a lot.
Yep.
And I've really had to think about that and work on that. So like if I'm cleaning the house, doing the dishes, doing all this stuff, and I look over and my husband's just sitting there scrolling on his phone. Oh, I get so angry because it doesn't feel fair. But then at the same time, I've kind of really thought it through, and it's really not about that I need him to work. It's that I need a break.
Wow.
So I've started to realize like, okay, this isn't actually about what he's doing. This is about that I'm actually tired and I don't want to be doing this. So it's up to me to stop doing it.
Yeah.
So I've kind of,
So because one is the reformer and they're always trying to improve themselves and others around them, how often do you think about what you need?
Not that often. I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah. So does it typically take the resentment to notice?
Resentment or like burnout or fatigue. And then I'll stop and go, okay, what am I needing? Why am I feeling this way?
Yeah. Is your anger ever explosive, or is it more like, do people notice it?
It's probably noticeable, but more because I'm more quiet maybe or avoidant rather than explosive in any way.
Yeah. Okay. So Sam, what makes you angry?
I totally agree with everything that Heather said. Especially the husband. I had a baby in January 2022, and I really struggled with the transition, and things didn't feel fair, and I was mad and angry, and it wasn't fair. And how come my husband has this and I didn't have that, and this and that? And I was listening to a Brene Brown podcast, and she was talking about resentment, and it was really helpful for me to understand that resentment was in the jealousy family. I didn't understand that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. I'm not mad at him. I'm jealous that he has these things that I don't have. And frustrating, I guess, that it would be that sometimes I need to get to that point to like validate for myself or like to advocate for myself. That's the word.
As a one, how does it feel to acknowledge feeling jealous?
Oh, feels guilt. I feel guilty.
Yeah. Why?
I guess shame is the right word. Shameful that I guess I have a tendency of putting myself last, and I can make everything else around me better. And sometimes it feels selfish to work on myself. And then I go, oh, well, there's a rule that on an airplane, you put your air mask on first so you can help other people.
Right.
And that's like, I can't be the best me to help anybody else if I don't take care of myself. So
Yeah.
I walk through that entire conversation with myself all the time.
Wow. Wow. Heather, were you going to add something?
Oh, I think we listened to the same podcast.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have the guilt part. For me, it's a relief to recognize it.
Yeah.
Because then I can fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
I
Sam's
don't have
two
the
wing.
yeah.
Because twos
yeah.
they get caught up in guilt. And I mean, ones do as well, but that two wing adds a portion to it. So yeah, the 9 keeps you more, I'd probably say objective, I think, than the 2. So yeah.
I felt like that was really nice the way that she was saying that, like, oh, then I can make it better. It's like that feels very peaceful, and like you're looking at it and you're gonna be a 9 and make it fair. I appreciate that about you, Heather.
Thanks.
So we talked a little bit about the experience of anger in your body and the clenching and the tightening, and Sam mentioned neck and shoulders. What else can you say about the physical experience of the tightening up, the bracing? What does it serve? What does it not serve? How does it help? How does it hinder? Are you more aware of it since you know your Enneagram type?
I think I'm more aware of what's going on in my body because that's what I've learned, that I'm a body type in the Enneagram. And so that I never would have thought that, but once I learned about it, oh yeah, it's totally true. I feel things in my body. I think the clenching is like an armoring up, like it's protective, or you're going into battle or something. I don't know. It's an armoring up.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, when I feel the clenching, it's more of like I feel sick almost, like, because it's all in the front, it's I guess I do get a little in the neck and shoulders, but I feel it really in my chest and solar plexus. So it's almost like a sickening feeling.
Yeah. Sam, does any of that resonate for you? Or because I'm wondering with that 2 wing.
Mine just feels tense and rigid and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to move to try and work it out.
Yeah. That's the body type. That's the one as a body type. Yeah. Yeah. So do you take your cues from your body then? Does that help you redirect, like knowing that you're a body type?
I guess I didn't think about it that way.
Okay. All right. So what do you do with the anger?
I either clean my house really well or I cry.
Okay.
Those are kind of the 2 ways it comes out. Yeah.
So if the tears could speak, what would they say?
It's not fair. Yeah.
Okay. Sam, what about you? What do you do with that anger?
I am an anger cleaner also. Just like run around the house like a little hurricane.
Mhm.
putting my stuff away.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we talked about joy a little bit before, and we talked about fun. What things bring you joy?
For me, it's nature. It's hard to
Mm.
judge nature.
Mm. Mm.
Animals. Animals make me super happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 2 dogs and they usually make me happy. But even just seeing animals in nature, like we go for walks every day, and if we see a turtle in the pond, I get super excited. Or if I see a heron flying overhead, I get really excited.
So,
Yeah.
so what about what is it about nature and animals that allow you, because it's hard for one to just slip into joy. I mean, it's almost like a decision.
No, I
So,
don't know. I get really excited. It's almost like a childlike kind of like
yeah.
wonder or awe that these creatures are living all around us or something. I'm not sure. And they're just doing their thing. They don't
Yeah.
think about all the things that I am, I guess. I
Do
don't
you
know.
identify with them? Do you see yourself in them?
Oh, I don't think so. I've never thought about it that way. Or maybe that I'm a part of it,
Yeah.
that I'm a
Yeah.
part of that nature and part of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's super exciting to me. I just love it. I love being silly, but it's hard for me to get into that
Yeah.
space. My husband's good at it, so sometimes I'll get there because he starts at first.
Yeah.
And then I love making music. So it could be singing, it could be plunking on the ukulele or the piano, but I don't play well, but I don't care.
Do you play in front of people? Or
No, not really. I mean,
no?
in front of my husband, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Righty.
Yeah.
Sam, what brings you joy?
I'm
Excuse me.
like, I don't want to say the same thing as her, but look at us being the same type. I agree with that, getting outside and doing things, moving my body outside and like being able to see nature feels like permission to just exist, like the way that trees just exist and they don't have any expectations, or they just are themselves. And I think that's really inspiring to be around. And I like to do arts and crafts, like making things, moving my hands. And with that, there's not any rules with art.
Yeah. Yeah. The making things and using your hands. Is there any aspect of that expression, idle hands or the devil's workshop, I think, is it that? Like, is there like a busy, like I have to be busy, productive?
There could be. I have ADHD, so I'm neurodivergent, and it's moving things with my hands is really helpful for me to like
To
calm
focus.
my brain
Yeah.
activity and
Yeah.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So what do you do for fun, and is having fun easy? I mean, Heather kind of addressed that before, but so what do you do for fun?
I'm really struggling with that right now. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, what I do for fun. I'm in a really tough season having a 16-month-old. I feel like every waking hour is making sure she's not being dangerous to herself. And then she's very curious. And so I feel like I'm just worried about her. And I'm like, if I have extra time at the end of the day, I'm just trying to like catch up on things and not doing a good job of holding space for fun. So I know that's the thing that I need to work on.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the question. You weren't asking me to critique myself, but there you go.
Well, I'm gonna bring it back to
Okay.
your daughter. So yes, 16-month-old children are they require a lot of attention because they will get into things. They're also kind of fun. So how do you work around that constant on responsibility mom taking care of a 16-month-old who is, active and needs constant attention, and finding the fun in raising a 16-month-old little girl?
I think that part of my problem is that I try too hard to have fun. Like I'll try, like, oh, I was up last night researching like sensory activities for children to help engage her. And then last night I accidentally kicked a ball and she thought it was so funny. And then me and my husband played soccer in the living room and tried to like kick it around her. And it just like did so much more than all of these things that I tried to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like trying to balance that and following the rules. And if you let go, children will find the thing that they need.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Heather.
Well, I like to go hiking. I think it's fun. I went for a hike today, and I think afterwards it was like, gosh, that was so fun. And it's a full like sensory experience because I'm moving my body. I'm smelling, the fresh plants that are coming in right now, and I'm hearing the birds. So it's like a complete sensory experience. I love. And I love to sing. I feel like it really, really helps access my heart and that playfulness. And it's not anything like, not necessarily performance singing, but like just singing around the house, making up a stupid song about my dog, whatever. Singing in the car on the way to work, like listening to music and just belting out whatever lyrics. Yeah.
Does that loosen up the body? That tension, that armoring?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, I've had like conscious thought of like, if I'm in a bad mood or something like that, I'll be like, I need to shift this. And so I'll put on something that I can just like really sing super loud.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I just think it does help loosen. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I am gonna shift over to a question for Sam now, because I know Sam for a lot of years. I know since you were a teenager, and you mentioned your little girl, and I think you have one of the most amazing birth stories of anyone I know. And I would love for you to share that and then share it through the lens of being a type 1 new mom.
Okay. So oh man. So I was supposed to have a C-section because my baby was breech. She was footling breech. So her feet were down where her head was supposed to be. And that was very uncomfortable. But I was supposed to have a C-section to get her out safely. And I just felt really at peace with the C-section. Everyone was like, oh no, I feel so bad for you. And I was like, I don't feel bad for me. I have a controlled situation. I'm going in. I'm going to go in on this day and my baby's going to be born. And I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be fine. And my husband is also a 1 wing too. And he was like, yes, I love this. This is great. I mean, I'm not happy you're having surgery, but at least we know everything will be fine. And it'll be super controlled, which is the irony of the whole thing. So, so the C-section was supposed to happen at January 6th at 10:30 in the morning. And I went and looked up her astro chart and I went, I don't know about that. Can we change the time? I don't really think that my baby's a Cancer rising. That just doesn't feel right. And the doctor is like, absolutely not. That's not how this works. It's an appointment. Like you do it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I think I'm gonna like pop in between sharing the type 1 in the story because it gives more perspective. So the night before the surgery, I'm getting in the shower to follow the rules, use the soap for the surgery, and I started to just like not feel very good. I was having like all these pains in my abdomen, and I don't know, it just didn't feel right, but the C-section was in 12 hours, so it's fine. I'll wait till the doctor tomorrow. I don't want to bother anybody. What if it's not really the thing? What if I'm not right? And my husband went to bed, and I was like, I'll wake you up if I don't feel good, like if it gets any worse. So I went and hung out in the bathroom. It's just like, I was like, I just don't feel right. I finally woke him up. This is about 10:30. I woke him up about 11:30. I was like, I don't know, something just doesn't feel right, because it's not just about me. I think we should just go to the hospital. Maybe they'll do the C-section early, and then she won't be a cancer rising. And he was like, okay, well, can I shower first? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, go shower first. So he showers, and while he's in the shower, it just like gets really serious. And I'm like, you need to go faster. You need to shower faster. And he's like, okay, I'm showering faster. He gets the bags and everything in the truck. He starts the truck, and I just felt this horrible pain, and I ran to the bathroom because I thought I was going to throw up, and my water broke very dramatically all over the floor. So I'm in transition. It turns out, looking back, I'm in transition, and it was very painful. This was like 12:30 was an hour shower process. And I'm trying to clean up the floor. I'm miserable. And I know. And my husband goes, hey, you're in your pajamas. Can you go get dressed? So I run to the bathroom. through the bathroom into the closet to get dressed, and nothing looks comfortable. And I'm like, I don't know what the right outfit is to wear. Like, what do you wear for this kind of event? I should have packed. And I go to change, and I just have a shirt on, and I feel this horrible pain, and I put my hand between my legs, and I felt her toes. And my husband sees me in the mirror, and he looks up and he goes, what do you do? And I'm like, it's toes, call 911. And so he calls 911. It's 12:40 now. So I've been in labor for 2 hours. I've known that it was labor for 45 minutes ish. And she's walking him through what to do. And they're trying to like get me to lay on the floor. I'm not going to lay back on the floor. I have an extra vertebrae in my spine. So I knew like that was not going to be the position for me. And so I'm in this really awkward position. And I just had this complete sense of calmness come over me. Like, not necessarily calm, but knowing, like, I knew that this was the moment. She's going to be born right now. They're not going to make it. I just have to go with it and not fight it. And she was born 4 minutes later, and it was insane. She came out. I could hear the 911 operator. She was saying, don't push, don't tell mom to push. I'm not pushing. My body is just doing a thing. And so I, type 1, went and researched all of this. It's called a Ferguson ejection reflex or something, where your body just takes over. It's like, we can't stop throwing up. Your body's just going to do it. My body just said, it's time for the baby to come out. And I just was in shock. And I looked down, and my husband caught her, and she had the cord wrapped around her neck 3 times. And she was all blue. She wasn't crying. He was able to get the cord off of her. Since he had the truck running outside and the garage door open, all of a sudden the paramedics came in, and they went, is anyone in here? And they came and cut her off and were able to resuscitate her. And they came in and were like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, go help her. Don't worry about me. Go help everybody else except for me. Someone go clean up the floor, because we got new floors before the baby came. Like, worry about everything else. And then when we ended up getting to the hospital, they took me and the baby in the ambulance. My husband drove separately, so we would have a way to leave. And we got there. I forgot that because I was supposed to have a surgery, I had a COVID test taken, and it came back that I was an asymptomatic positive. I had no idea I had COVID, and I didn't have a mask on because it was an emergency situation. I didn't know what was going on. And my husband runs in the room, and he goes, wait a minute, we both have COVID. Everyone needs to put a mask on. And because he was following the rules also, and we got yelled at. And I just remember this doctor came in, and he yelled at me because I didn't have a mask on, and I was endangering everyone. And I think that that was the worst thing that could have been said to me. It just felt, I was totally cool. I went with the flow. I was like, I'm so proud of myself. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I didn't follow a rule and I got scolded in like the most vulnerable moment I could have been scolded in. And that was really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, you know what the highest manifestation of type 1 is? Do you know?
No.
It's serenity.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
But you did it. You did it.
That was the one moment. And whenever people hear like that happened, like it was a crazy story. None of it should have happened. She shouldn't have been come out feet first. She shouldn't have been born that fast. She shouldn't have been born for the C-section, all these things. And it was, weren't you afraid? I wasn't afraid for one moment.
Yeah. And you let your body do the, like, I mean, you as a body type, you just went with letting your body do what it is designed to do. And it brought you serenity.
Yeah.
You knew instinctually, you knew how to do something you never did before, had no plans of doing, because you had this all worked out and it was gonna, be done with the C-section, and weren't you surprised?
Yes. Yes. It was an incredible experience, and she is a Libra rising.
And from what you have told me about her, she is truly a Libra rising. She is adorable.
Thank you.
Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. It's a remarkable story, and filtering it through type 1 structure, I think, is just amazing. Yeah. So yeah. So I added 2 questions. And they pertain to any type. I think the second one might be especially important for type 1s. The first one, though, is what scares you?
I think for me, it's, well, this is my answer because I'm in the process of launching a course that I've created, right? So being seen and making a mistake while I'm being seen. That's so scary. It's so scary. It feels very vulnerable.
Is there a way, just hearing Sam's story about where she just let the body do its job and find that place of serenity, could you imagine yourself using that that wisdom, the higher wisdom of type?
Maybe. One thing that I've been really noticing lately is when I'm present in my body and when I'm not present in my body. So like even through this process right now, I have a little press pack on heart 1 and I'm pressing on it just to remind myself I'm here in my body, so that I'm not kind of untethering somehow, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I've been trying to put into practice little things to just be present in my body so that I can use that to my advantage.
Yeah. Do you notice it working?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Good. Sam, how about you? What scares you?
What scares me is, I want to say failure, but I also don't want to say failure. I think what scares me is, I think, injustice and like not the truth.
Okay. What does that mean?
think like this is coming especially from working in like the environmental field, like hearing all the different perspectives and understanding where people are coming from and feeling like that's not the right thing to do. That's capitalism. Like that's scary to me, like not people not doing the right thing, people doing things for their own self-gain.
Right, right. So, and again, getting back to the body and serenity, having the experience behind you of bringing a child into the world the way you just did, does that give you an edge?
Oh yeah, I have a God complex now.
As you well should.
I went back to work and I was like, oh, okay, cool. You don't like that about me? That's fine. I made life and I brought it into the world by myself. Okay. I've got definitely like honed it down a little bit, but for a while I was like, I don't have to do that. I'm better than everyone else. That was probably like an unhealthy one.
Yeah. But that said, I'm glad that you could appreciate the monumental thing that, you know, when you can consider where one could go in that same situation and what you did with it. I'm glad that you could appreciate the magnificence of what you did. And I don't know if your mom told you what I had said, but I had said, you tell that woman she is a badass. So yeah.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So what inspires you both? I know Heather mentioned nature, so we talked about what scares you, what inspires you.
I think again, for me, it's people that are able to just be playful and lighthearted. I think that's inspiring. I want to be like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then nature, yeah. People that can be heart-centered, you know, leading from the heart and really connecting. I think that's inspiring.
Yeah.
I would agree. And I think being around those people who are lighthearted or they're just really present and where their feet are and just like absorbing things and taking it in instead of questioning it or looking at how it could be changed, just that acceptance is inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Acceptance to me is also serenity. It's a type of serenity. So yeah. Very cool. All right. So I mentioned to both of you, and full disclosure, I'm not an astrologer, but I am an astrology student right now. So the reason I do the Enneagram is I love any system that's based on patterns. And to me, that's where truth is. If I can find the pattern, there's a divine truth in it. So I started looking at Enneagram types as they relate to charts. So we're going to switch over to, I'm going to screen share. Okay. Okay. You guys see that? Okay. So this one is Sam's. All right. So interesting thing, you are both Scorpio risings. So here's where I go, and there's no direct overlay to the Enneagram and astrology. It's pulling the threads. It's fine. I think every time I work with somebody, it's a little different. But here's what I look for with Enneagram 1. Definitely look at Saturn. It's the planet of structure, right? So I'm always curious where that is. I'd like to know what Mars is doing, because Mars can be, well, Mars is fiery. And ones can be pretty intense in their, you know, lower expression. They can be a little Mars-like. They like to reform, so I like to look at Pluto, planet of transformation. And I like to look at Mercury because type ones are typically, they typically have a mercurial communication is up there for them. How well they do communication depends on how developed they are in their type. So this is where my thinking is going. And then as far as houses, I look at Capricorn, I look at Virgo, I look at Libra and Gemini because of the Mercury connection. Virgo for the Mercury connection as well, and Capricorn because of the Saturn connection. So, and it's not to say it's the only things I'll look at, but this is where my head is. So with Sam, we've got Pluto in the first house, the house of the personality. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, you're here to experience transformation. You bring transformation, and it's in Scorpio, which is all about transformation, right? So one being the reformer, that's consistent. So then Capricorn, we have Uranus. This is in your third house of communication. So we've got Uranus and Neptune. So for me, that means you're probably not afraid of shocking communication. Or not shocking communication, but innovative ideas.
Yes.
And then, so the low side of Neptune is confusion, fog. The high side of it is deep spirituality. So I know you a bit. So I would say I know your spiritual awareness has run deep since you've been a kid. So, and you're not afraid of those innovative ideas that that other people might struggle with, right? So how does that play for you as a one?
I think it plays for me in that it motivates me to move forward, that it's part of that reforming part, that there's always something that can be changed and there's new ideas that we can look at to bring in more fairness and more truths.
Nice. Okay. And then we've got your Saturn in your fourth house of home and family. You're tough on the people you love?
Probably.
Yeah. Why is that important?
I want to say something less intense than holding them accountable. Like that is the sentiment, but like a few notches down.
Okay. So why is it important to be accountable?
To help them be the best that they can be.
Okay. Is that in the moment or is that for the long haul?
For the long haul.
Yeah. That's what I would have expected you to say. What else do we have here? We don't have anything happening in Virgo, which is interesting. And we don't have anything happening in Gemini. But like I said, we've got some things happening in your third house of communication. So even though there's nothing mercurial there, Mercury and communication for me go together. So so that is covered. Your Mercury and your Sun are conjoined in your seventh house of partnership. So that can be romantic partnership or business partnership. So the Sun sheds some extra light on Mercury's ability to communicate in relationships. So, and it's in Taurus. So we talked about home and family and being tough on your loved ones, but in relationship, tell me what your conversations look like. How fixed are they? How direct are they? How illuminated? Do you have veiled conversations, or are they straight in your face?
I think I used to have more veiled conversations, and that was kind of like my childhood growing up, that everyone around me and my immediate family had veiled conversations. And now stepping out of that and just going through Saturn return, lovely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wait for your second one.
Great. So many things to learn. I think that I'm more comfortable with communicating and sharing who I am with other people, and being like, well, if they don't like it, at least I was honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely can see that there in that seventh house. And then we got Mars and Leo in your 10th house of career. So prideful, action-oriented, direct. Does that add up?
Yeah.
Tell me a little more.
I think that the pride comes from my team and who I'm representing, not necessarily like my own work. That's the prideful part. And I am always, especially like in the work setting, willing to be the person who goes first, the person who takes responsibility, the person who delegates and figures it out, and really obnoxiously lead everyone.
There's definitely, I can hear those type 1 words in there. So so that's also reflected here. So so yeah, I definitely can see the ones and the one-ish behavior in that chart. All right, let me hop over to Heather's chart. So as I said, you're both Scorpio risings. Let's hop over. Heather doesn't have anything in Virgo either. We've got Venus in Gemini in the 8th house. This is something we should look at in the 9th house of spirituality, God, religion, mostly the house of spirituality is probably a good description. So we've got the Sun and Mercury in there pretty much conjoined as well, just in a different house. And it's in Cancer. And we've got Saturn hanging out there too. So I'm debating.
Looks very intense.
Well, in topics of spirituality, yeah. A lot of thinking. There's the Mercury, right? A lot of the idea of the reform and the structure of Saturn, and then the Sun illuminating it. Bright ideas. You don't have the the Uranus influence in there. Where is your Uranus? It's here in the 12th. That's right. Okay. So yeah, but structure around, so you practice a medicine that spirituality is a part of it, right? Taoist spirituality. Tell me about your experience around structure and spirituality, your thoughts on it.
Oh, well, I'm pretty much really don't like religion at all.
Okay. Okay. There we go. Keep going.
So my personal belief is maybe there shouldn't be structure in spirituality.
Okay.
Because it's such an individual, personal thing. I could go on a tangent. That's not to say there can't be a spiritual community, but for someone to tell me what my relationship with a higher power would be is maddening to me.
Okay. Okay. So rules, I'm thinking through type 1 and rules and structure.
Oh,
Yeah, how does that play out for you?
I guess, well, this is one area I don't think there should be rules, maybe around how a person is spiritual or what that looks like necessarily.
I wonder if it might mean that you do have rules about your spirituality has no conventional rules,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a rule. It's a
Yeah,
form of it's a form of structure, right? It's
right.
I have my belief system, which is a set of rules, my own rules, right?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to me how it's in your ninth house of spirituality.
Yeah.
And to me, there's a brightness around ideas. This is clear in your mind. The structure of it is clear in your mind. And it's in the house of Cancer. So, and I do know you to be a nourishing person. So, Cancer is about that nourishment around your spirituality. So I think it's just an interesting stellium. Those 3 planets there. And then you had talked about your younger years. I want to hop over to the 12th house. So this is the house that we associate with dark night of the soul, loss, seclusion. It's the deeper, inner, harder transformations that we go through. And we've got Pluto, which is the ultimate transformer, and Uranus, which is shock, the unexpected, the unplanned for. And I just heard some of that in your story about, growing up and your mom dying when you were young, and all the adapting that you had to do around this, shocking experience, which is in Libra, right? So the planet of balance, the house of balance, ruled by Venus, which feels very nine-ish to me. Because I think of 9 in Libra, the mediator, the peacemaker, and that Libra energy of balance and fairness, which you've spoken to as well. And all of these hard things that happen in a difficult house as well. Overseen by this Libra energy, this 9 wing, your 1 Enneagram type, and then your 9 wing influencing it. So I just see some overlap here as well. And again, getting back to that first house in Scorpio, and Scorpio being about change and transformation. I just think it's interesting that the 2 of you are coming up as Scorpio risings. That's just really interesting to me. So yeah.
And
all right.
I think that as far as the Pluto and the loss and all of that, I feel like all of that does bring about transformation, because I feel like every time there's a loss, there's always a rebirth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it that definitely resonates for me.
Yeah, especially in the 12th house. It's like that's like cubed. That transformation cubed, I would say. So yeah. All right, I'm going to stop the screen share and come on back here. So do you guys have anything that you would like to share about being a 1 that I missed, or anything that you want to expand upon?
I would add, I just appreciated when you were looking for someone to do the interview and you questioned, is it because an inner critic is making you worried that maybe you wouldn't do it? And that just like hit so hard. It was like, yeah, of course, I don't want to do it. And I don't want to do it from the perspective of what if I'm wrong, or what if I took someone else's turn? What if someone else had a really great thing and they did a better job than me and I wasted Maria's time? I don't want to do that. And
Not at all.
I just didn't realize that until you said it. And I was like, oh no, I got to volunteer.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Same.
Well, thank you both, because I know that, and I did suspect that, and I don't know that I'm going to get interviews for all of the 9, but I thought one might be the one that didn't happen. And to have 2 people here is like, to me, that's amazing and speaks to your development as type 1s and your self-awareness and your bravery. Because I know it wasn't easy, but I also know Sam can do anything.
Definitely.
So yeah, so thank you both for being here. Heather, share your site again for your course.
Oh, sure. It's vitalmatriarch.com.
Vitalmatriarch.com. And Sam, anything that you want to plug?
Not today.
Not today. Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for being here. And if you haven't already liked or subscribed or like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment and share. I'd appreciate you doing so the work gets out to more people. So thank you both for being here. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.